The time is just gone 9:38 a.m. And earlier on, we spoke with the NFP's Ahmed Mansour Sheikh Imam on the resolution to downgrade the South African embassy in Israel. Now, we are getting reaction, and we see there was a statement that was issued by the South African Friends of Israel. The spokesperson for the South African Friends of Israel with us this morning. We've got Bafana Modise. Bafana, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, and salam alaikum to our Muslim brothers and sisters here.
Yes, I see you have issued a press statement with regard to the draft resolution that have been passed and slamming the ANC and the NFP attack on Christian religious rights in South Africa.
Yes, actually, as an organization, we are literally appalled by this decision. It clearly shows that our government, our leaders did not consider the Christians of this country who travel to Israel on a yearly basis for pilgrimages. And we don't see this resolution in any way providing a way forward in terms of finding a long-lasting, peaceful solution between Israel and Palestine. It's a mere political grandstand, looking at the fact that already in Africa, there is 44 African states. In the USA, in the Middle East, you already have normalization of relations with Bahrain, with UAE. So what South Africa is doing, it's a mere political grandstand. It does not serve the purposes of peace. It's basically ideological, that's all.
Call it ideological, but this is to many across the entire world. And I spoke to the NFP earlier on, and this decision is not driven by ideological or even religious grounds. One looks at it purely on from a humanitarian perspective and a justice perspective, because we know for over 70 years the injustices that have been perpetrated by the Zionist entity have been brutal, and it still continues till today.
Human rights, then we must not be selective in our human rights. We had an issue in Ukraine as we speak, but no, Russia was here well catered for. There was no resolution on that. We have an issue in Iran for women who are fighting for their rights, and that has not even been tabled in South Africa, or there is no even a move to downgrade the embassy. We have an issue with Tibet in China. So we have human rights issues across the world, and Israel has been singled out for merely political or ideological views and extremism. We should be rather looking at a way of South Africa. You have resolved your conflict before in South Africa in the past. Let us become that voice of sense and unity to bring together the Palestinians and the Israelis together. But South Africa is not interested in that. It's basically trying to push a narrative that they care more about human rights, which is hypocritical because they are only singling out one Jewish state in the whole world as guilty of human rights. Meanwhile, others are being left with impunity to do as they like.
Well, in the same breath, Bafana, you speak about the Russia and the Ukrainian conflict, but at the same time, when one looks at how the world has rallied behind Ukraine, we've never seen the world rallied behind Palestine for over 70 years. But in fact, it actually goes the other way. The world has actually been supporting Israel in this brutal occupation throughout well over 70 years.
The problem is that there is no other country that has been threatened with extermination except Israel. There is no other nation that has been actually attempted to be annihilated by a regime except the Jewish people. So please forgive the world when they take the threats of Iran, the threats of these other Muslim states that are literally continuing to say, we will annihilate the Jews. This is the issue. And also the Palestinian people, I believe for one that they deserve better leaders. If they had sensible leaders, this thing could have been solved a long time ago. Hamas in Gaza is brutally oppressing their own people. But you don't speak about what Hamas is doing to the people of Gaza. We are not speaking about the fact that
what evidence? Sorry, can I stop you? What evidence is there that Hamas is oppressing its own people?
Everybody knows that the people of Gaza have tried to protest that side in that country before, or in that nation before, and they were shot. Some of them were killed and brutally imprisoned. That is a fact, because the issue is that even Mahmoud Abbas has been a president of the PA for more than I don't know how many years today. But no one has ever said, why don't we push for more leaders to rise up to find a way to resolve this issue? It's been 70 years. But you using our history as black people to try to make a political show, it's an insult to black South Africans. We should
Yes.
be rather pushing we should rather be pushing towards how do we solve this conflict if we really care about Palestinians, and not just caring about demonizing the Jewish people and the Israel as a state.
But the history of the black people in this country, it's an established fact that during the apartheid era, Israel had done all it could to actually break sanctions against South Africa and had supported the nationalist government. And this is the reason why, when we talk about Israel being an apartheid state, Israel has supported the apartheid state of South Africa. They supported the nationalist government, and now they've taken apartheid to another level. And the other point that you make is extermination of the Jews. Remember that there are many, many Jews right across the entire world that are not happy with what the Zionist entity is doing. There is a fundamental difference between the Zionist ideology and Jewish ideology. Jews have lived in Palestine for many years. They have coexisted. They were protected. So I don't know where this argument of extermination of Jews comes in. We need to draw the difference, Bafana, that we've got a Zionist ideology.
Let me assist you. The Zionist movement was born out of the reality that the Jewish people had to return to their homeland when they can be free from all the injustices of the world. That was the whole idea of Zionism. Secondly, our freedom fighters were not suicide bombers in South Africa. In Israel, as we speak today, you have ministers, you have members of the Knesset who are Arabs. So for you to draw the line of apartheid is misleading and malicious. And South Africa was not only supported by Israel during apartheid, even the Arab states were still providing oil to South Africa, and even London and many other countries. So for you to single out Israel as the only country that was trading or working with South Africa, it's mainly to demonize the state, to make it look like it's whatever they assume it to be. The reality here, it is that Israel has every right in that land to be there as a homeland and to live together with the Palestinians in peace and in harmony. But as long as you are pushing a view that Israel has no right to exist in that portion of land, that is the problem, sir.
Well, when one looks at the settlers that have come through, and when you're talking about apartheid in every sense of the word, when one looks at the land grabs, when one looks at the home demolitions, when one looks at entire villages that have been demolished, just recently as last week, we've seen the brutal, you talk of suicide bombers, we've seen brutal Israeli security apparatus gunning down innocent people, children that have been killed, the apartheid wall, separate roads for Palestinians, separate roads for Israel, registration plates. These are issues on a day-to-day basis that Palestinians have been going on for the last 70 years. So is that not apartheid? In the most
It is not
sense of the word?
apartheid. Apartheid was a system based on racial segregation. Apartheid was a system based on oppressing our forefathers, our mothers and sisters, being treated like monkeys. It was not a
So are the
system where
Palestinians
Arabs
not
and
being
Jews can
oppressed?
share a hospital. It was not a system where Arabs and Jews can be in the same military. It was not a system where today in Israel, most Arabs are even members of parliament. That would not have happened in South Africa. So you are literally misleading the world with this apartheid lie. In the whole of Africa, 44 African states have relations with Israel. With all over, looking at the Middle East as well, the Abraham Accords have seen that this animosity against Israel, it does not bear any fruit. This agenda is merely ideological and is extremism. It will never deliver peace between Palestine and Israel. And that's why we are saying that as Christians in in this country who regard and see Israel as the Holy Land, Jerusalem as the holy city. The government of this country must first prioritize us than to push their ideological views with the cost of Christians in this country. How is downgrading an embassy in Israel going to provide peace for Palestinians? It has not done anything. These are all political grandstands. I should rather say Cyril or any of the NFP leaders must go to Palestine, speak to Hamas, call Bibi Netanyahu, sit in the meeting, find a way forward. By you trying to push or sound to look like a political or intellectuals, it does not materialize to peace between Palestine and Israel. That is my view. We should be looking for peace, not looking for ways to demonize the Jewish state. Israel is thriving, Israel is prosperous, Israel is working with Arab states, and as we speak, the Palestinians should come to board and have a two-state solution at last. When are we going to have that?
Well, Bafana, you are using the Christian argument in response to this draft resolution that have been passed. But there are many Christians right across the entire world that will disagree with you with regard to Christianity. The Israeli occupation has put tremendous strain on Palestinian Christians themselves. We've seen this, the World Council of Churches has mentioned it. Last week, I had an opportunity to speak to an Anglican minister who actually wrote a book, who went firsthand, who lived in East Jerusalem, who had actually seen what Palestinian Christians are actually going through. And that is why I'm saying this is not a religious debate. The human rights violations that are perpetrated by this brutal Zionist regime is aimed at both Palestinian Arabs and at Palestinian Christians.
I'm saying to you, I'm putting you this way: the Christian people across the country, South Africa, travel to Israel every year for pilgrimages, including myself. Okay, a human rights debate here. If it's a human rights debate, then let's put the human rights debate across all board. Let us deal with Russia the way we are dealing with Israel. Let's downgrade the embassy in Russia. Let's downgrade the embassy in China. Let's downgrade the embassy in Iran. Why is it that you should only focus on one conflict in the rest of the world? It's misleading. So hence I'm saying to you that if you're going to use, we can't use one sector of Christians as a way to say all Christians believe this. The Anglicans speak for their own doctrine and whatever they believe in. I'm talking about the Christians who are saying our God is Yahweh Hashem. Our holy city is Jerusalem. Some Christians have their own views. That is their view. But the burning issue here is the fact that as Christians in this country, we are going to be affected by this decision because we need consular support when we get to Israel. And I don't see it actually materializing towards Palestinians. Meanwhile, it's only going to disadvantage Christians in South Africa. That's my point.
Bafana, when one looks at the Israeli ministers, their language is as violent and as racist as it can be. And we've seen it over and over again. You speak of visiting Israel as a Christian, but we know for the fact that Israeli tour operators don't take Christian tourists to some of the most important cities and the holy sites. And this is for one simple reason, to prevent them from seeing the brutal effects of this Israeli occupation.
My brother, let me correct you. I have been to the West Bank. I've been to Ramallah. Okay, I've been to Bethlehem. I've been to Jenin. I've been to those places that you think people don't go to. So you are misleading the people when we say that you have been somehow controlled. When you are in there, you can see everything there. And we are not even ignoring the plight of Palestinians. We are saying it can be resolved by sensible leaders who are able to engage on a table and secure a lasting peaceful solution. But don't think that Christians are literally ignorant to the fact that there is a conflict in that side. And if you talk about killing of people, last week alone, a young 16-year-old Jewish boy was killed in Jenin. People have been dying in Jerusalem, killed by Palestinian terrorists, which today some of you will call them freedom fighters, but they are terrorists. So If you are going to look at this thing from a one-sided point of view and try to say Christians, or try to say we have been somehow been led by propaganda, when you arrive in Israel, you see the country for yourself with your own eyes. There is not a show. You can see it, and you can see Arabs and Jews in hospitals, Arabs and Jews in malls, in places of worship, in Jerusalem, in the Western Wall. So the idea that there's an apartheid or there is this anti-Arab issue in Israel, it's not founded. It's not there.
Well,
Even
Bafana,
the leader of PGS.
You speak of one Jewish young person that was killed last week. Do you know about the 17 others that were killed in Nablus last week? Do you know of young children that were brutally gunned down? And this is exactly the point, that as long as this Israeli occupation continues to punish all Palestinians,
We are not
regardless of their
solving the
religion,
problem by we are not solving the problem by
yes,
counting the numbers of people who are dying on both sides. We should be stopping the killing. Killing and death is wrong at all costs. So we should be preventing it. By you saying 20 and I say 30 and you say 40 and I say 60 is not solving the problem. The problem is that there is an issue and this issue needs to be resolved. People can't keep on dying in this manner for a mere political ideology.
okay.
Israel
Here's a
must
question
exist.
for you.
Palestine must exist.
Oh, here's a question for you. How do you stop this brutal Israeli killing machine from killing innocent Palestinian people?
I think the question is, how do we stop also the brutal killing of the Jews in Palestine, in Israel, by the Hamas terrorists and by the jihadists in West Bank and in Gaza? And how do we do it? By bringing people together and engaging on them to say, let us come together into a peace deal that can assure our future for generations to come. It's been 75 years of us fighting. Nothing has been done. Let us find a way to fix it. That's how you deal with it as a sensible diplomatic leader. But if you want to be a populist, if you want to be a fascist who tries to be relevant and win Muslim votes, you are going to choose on one side and ignore the other. And the more you are doing this, you are only pushing Israel to the right and you are pushing the Palestinians to the right. And we will never have peace at the end of the day.
Well, Palestine, Israel has been to the right and is getting more righteous and more fascist as time actually progresses. And I just want to leave you with one comment. When an Israeli leader makes a statement that the thing that I hate, they don't even consider Palestinians as human beings. When he makes a statement that the thing that I hate most is the Israeli mother because she's given birth to this this Palestinian child. The thing that I hate most is this Palestinian mother who's given birth to this child, who has the guts to stand up to the might of the Israeli Defense Force.
That is pure
These are
hatred.
statements.
You can't
This
say
is
such
pure
things.
hatred.
It's pure hatred. You can't say such things. I mean, honestly speaking, there are Jews who are friends with Palestinians. There are women who are friends with Arabs, who are going to the beaches every single Friday with Jews. So you can't just literally claim that and say because of one man said this out of his own views, then it's true. The same way
This was the
if
Prime
one
Minister of Israel,
so
Bafana.
yes,
This
but
was the Prime Minister of Israel.
but I'm not here to speak on that, comrade. I'm here to speak on the issue that there are many other people who are living in Palestine. There are Palestinians who are living right in Israel, who are living way better than any other Muslim state in the Middle East. Some of them are flourishing, are doctors, are nurses, are judges. So for you to just say that comment summarizes the whole situation in Israel, it's misleading.
Look here, Bafana, I speak to a lot of people in the media. I speak to many Israelis. I've spoken to many people that are sympathetic to the Palestinian cause and also the friends of Palestinians here in South Africa. So the thing is, we need to make this absolutely clear that this is not about being anti-Jewish. This is about a Zionist ideology that is promoting hatred, that is promoted apartheid, that is promoting brutality, that is promoting violence. And this is exactly what we are talking about. But I think, Bafana, for now, time is of the essence. And sadly, we've run out of time. But I would have loved to engage a lot more with you, perhaps on a more detailed discussion at some point in time.
Thank you.
Bafana Modise with us this morning, and with that, we're going to go for a break. We'll be back.